Right, hi guys, welcome to week 2 call of ELIMIN8, end of week 2.
Yeah, I don't understand what I'm doing because I literally.
Hannah, you joining us or you putting yourself?
Sorry, one sec.
So welcome to week 2 of ELIMIN8. We'll be talking today about staying on track at weekends and basically giving some advice around food and alcohol in and around socials at weekend. But just before we start, I'm just going to quickly share my screen and go through a couple of admin points. So on the coaching log, just make sure we are filling out all of the stats. So we are filling out our protein, carbs, and fats each day. Weight as much as we can. If you can get it in 7 days, some people have asked me whether we need to weigh ourselves every day. The more information you give me, the more help I can give you. And we will have a topic on why the scales don't change and factors that affect the scales. So I get some people get a little bit hesitant around it. And if you are one of those people and you are someone who does get affected by the scales, try and keep it at least 3 times a week and spread them days out. So yes, I know sometimes people don't really like weighing after the weekend, but if you give me like a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Saturday or Sunday, you're most likely going to get the most accurate reflection from the week. Make sure, obviously, you're filling in your steps. I think the majority of people have a smartwatch. If you don't, obviously go off your phone, whatever method you have been using in the past. It doesn't really matter. And it doesn't matter whether you've got a Garmin or an Apple Watch, as long as you use the same device to track your steps, it's going to be when there's adjustments to it, it's going to be the same method you use to track your steps. So don't overthink it. Training, that's obviously your weight training. That's because throughout the 8 weeks, I try and get you to build an ideal structure. So for example, if if I see you 1 week train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the next I see you train Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then you tell me that you've got no motivation to train, I start building in like a little bit of discipline, and we talk about discipline over motivation in one of the weeks as well. So, but I'm not going to go into too much here. Cardio, this is where I've seen a lot of people put numbers every single day. So I see like someone might have 465 here, 723 here. What cardio is a specific cardiovascular exercise, and we talk about it next week. But in this column, it's not your cardio for the total day. So I don't want people filling in the cardio for their total day, and I don't want them to fill in their cardio from their steps. Your steps go in this column. So if you do your 10,000 steps, whatever it may be, put that there. This cardio column is more for like if you do like say a 5K and you do your 5K and you put 312 calories, or if you do a spin and you know how much you burn, let's go 412. That's what goes in there. If you do your normal daily steps of walking, that comes under steps rather than cardio, and you don't put your total day cardio from your watch. You don't look back and go cardio burnt for the day. And I'll explain all that in either next week or the week after. And then the same with here. Are you feeling more confident? Do you look cleaner? How compliant were you? And obviously put your measurements in, because self-reflection can often be quite hard, and especially if you reflect on yourselves, because some people will lose 2-3 kg, look completely different, and still not feel that they look better. And that's obviously where my sort of trained eye comes in and be like, help you with the certain areas to look at, be like, right, make sure you're looking at this area and this area. And we sort of try and change the mindset towards how you feel and set realistic expectations as to where you should be at, because some people think they should be losing a stone a week, and we obviously know that's not the case, but we need to make people more aware of how much they should lose in. And for the most part of people, it's 0.5 to 1% of your body weight. So a lot of people think it's 0.5 to 1 kg, but if we think about it, how can someone who's, I'm going to go extreme numbers here, how can someone who's like 200 kg and someone who's 30 kg lose the same amount of weight per week on a weight loss diet? Do you know what I mean? So it's 0.5 to 1% of your body weight. So if you were 70 kg, that would be 0.35 to 0.7 kg per week. With ELIMIN8, most of you will probably exceed these numbers because of the way it's designed. So yeah, if you're down around 1%, 1 to 2% of where you started, you're on the right track. And most of you from the check-ins are past that. Fill in this comments box, self-explanatory, list 3 things you've done well and 1 thing you have struggled with. So that just gives me an understanding. It can be bullet points, it can be long written text. It's more to help me help you on the areas that you obviously need help with. But at the same time, there's a big thing on self-gratitude and understanding what you have done well. So if you are proud that you've done a 5K run for the first time in your life, if you are proud you got into an old pair of jeans, I really want you to go big on that. And I want you to explain why you're happy, because you sort of have this relationship to yourself doing well and yourself not doing well to how much you will stick to something. If you can see the benefits of something you're doing and you can self-reflect that, you're more likely to stick to it. And it's the same way if you're on like a weight loss journey, your weight's coming down, everything's going right, but you're not giving yourself the gratitude for it, you're more likely to give up, because you'll be like, well, I'm not doing as well as I could be, even though everything's moving in the right direction. It's my job to tell you whether you're doing well or not. Trust me, I think there's a few of you on the call who have had some one-to-one experience. I will tell you when you need a kick up the arse. Ain't that right, Sky? But at the same time, obviously, when you need the reassurance, I'm right there. So we will talk about that in more detail. This was just more to get the admin side of things done. I'm going to stop the share. Like I said, I'm not technical. Let's hope it doesn't bring me off the call. Good. A little bit of heart was going there. So before we start, does anyone have any questions? I did check the group. I don't think anyone advised on any topics they would like covered, but does anyone have any questions on any topics they'd like to talk about first? No, we're all good. Please do chip in with your comments and questions, because obviously I provide everything that I've got from my knowledge and my experience, but every single one of you will have different experiences from me with your own weight loss journeys and your own sort of thoughts. So the more you share, the better it is. And you will get obviously I'll provide you an answer to you personally. So you're benefiting out of obviously the people that are probably want to ask the question and don't. So don't be that person. Don't sit on a question and not answer. Do you know what I mean? Or not ask the question. Hannah, I'm speaking to you because we're going to go through shift work and dieting on shift work. And if any of you are parents, we'll be talking about that at some point as well. So first things first, I'm going to break this down into food, then alcohol, rather than trying to fit it into one go. And is anyone out for dinner this coming weekend? Let's use you as a direct example. Come on, whoever speaks up first is getting the benefit of personalized coaching.
Me.
Yes, Jade. Love it. Where are you off to?
I am meant to be meeting a friend on Saturday, so that's coming over for the weekend. So I don't know where we're going, but we're gonna have lunch together. So
okay, lunch, right? I'm picking an Italian. You're going for pasta, all right? So
all right.
That'll do. And what I want to do here is, like, you've basically got three main forms of tracking when it comes to food. And what I mean by that, 3 main options when it comes to food. You've obviously either got, you track everything. So that's like, you know where you're going in advance, you know what you're having. It's easy for you to sort of track what you're doing. Remember, we're talking about food at weekends. This isn't like making food in the house at the moment. This is like going out for dinner. So obviously you track everything in advance. So for example, Jade's going out for an Italian for lunch. She's going to have a normal breakfast, a normal dinners, tracked as normal, but she's going to pick a spaghetti bolognese this weekend. Easy enough, track it. Most of you, for the most part, I think everyone on the call actually is from in Jersey. We don't have the luxury of chain foods compared to obviously some of the UK clients, etc. So when it comes to an Italian, like, you can put it in spaghetti bolognese. If you go to, for example, in Jersey, like Cafe Restaurant Italia, which isn't a chain food, what you would do is you would go on and you would pick a chain food. So you might go like Pizza Express, spaghetti bolognese, Bella Italia, spaghetti bolognese. For those that are like UK, like Carluccio's, Bella Italia, etc. And that is giving you the closest option to tracking that meal. Again, when it comes to these sort of things, you can, and you're struggling to find something that's similar, you might have got like a dish which isn't quite on like a chain food, or you can't think of a chain restaurant that does that type of food. You can often go like Tesco's Finest, so like Tesco's Finest steak, Tesco's Finest chips. And what you might do is put in a teaspoon of olive oil with that, because you know at restaurants are going to use a lot of olive oil to cook their foods for flavor. And another option is say, for example, you pick a lasagna, and we know lasagna is a high calorie meal at an Italian, and it comes up as 400 calories. We know, don't lie to yourself, first and foremost, don't be putting in a lasagna at 400 calories when you know it was an absolute 6-inch deep bowl of lasagna. So what you would maybe do is change the portion size on it. You'd pick one that looks like it's a good split from your knowledge, and you'd maybe change the portion size to like 1.25 or 1.5, and automatically that will start bringing the calories up. And then you'd look at it and go, do you know what? From what I've seen with my own eyes, that looks about right. And that sort of, you will build your knowledge on that over time. So that's your first option, is obviously you're tracking in advance. Your second option is semi-tracking. So what you would do is, like, for example, if we change, just to give a better understanding now, if Jade's now going out for dinner instead of lunch, and say it's a Friday where she's in normal routine at work, she would track her breakfast and her lunch as normal. And then she would leave a certain amount of calories for the evening. So for argument's sake, let's say Jade is out for dinner and she's not drinking, but she's not sure what she wants left. So Jade's going to play things on the safe side. She's going to maybe track her higher day is, let's call it 1700 calories. So what she's going to do, she's going to track the 700 calories through the day, and she's going to leave herself a certain amount in the evening. So she might leave herself 1,000 calories for her evening meal. That's obviously the best scenario that she can do. Jade goes out, comes back, realize, obviously she knows what she had. She had a spaghetti bolognese, inputs it after. That's option one from semi-tracking, is you know what you had, you can input it after, and you can give yourself a best guess as to what it was. The second option is obviously you don't track it. And this is, this is what we can do, is when you get further along your fitness journey and you start having things like you want to go out for dinner, you want to have that little bit more flexibility at weekends, you allow yourself a certain amount and you round off a dinner as a certain amount. So for example, we might round off, look, you can go out for dinner tonight, but be smart and make it 1,000 calories, and you just don't input it into MyFitnessPal. You use your sort of your knowledge from what you've learned from tracking in the past or from meals and having to play around with MyFitnessPal. From your experience, you allow yourself that amount of calories, because amount of times we go out, I've done it myself, and go out for a dinner and you're just like, do you know what? I can't be asked tracking that. So I'm just not going to track the whole day. Whereas like in the morning, I had porridge, I had a tuna salad for lunch, things that I've made at home, but I've just decided not to track the whole day because I can't be bothered going in and looking for the meal. It allows you that little bit of flexibility to be like, right, normal breakfast, normal lunch, save myself 1,000 calories as long as it fits. During ELIMIN8, and because there is 6 weeks left, if you are out for dinners, you're going to get the best option is obviously to track in advance. The second best option is to save yourself an amount and then obviously pull it in after. The third best option is obviously to do it and leave yourself a certain amount and just round it off to the closest sort of 100 and be sensible with that. And then obviously our last option is you're not going to track. You're going to give yourself an untracked day. I've got to say, obviously, as a coach and with eliminating my experience and it being the 6 to 8 weeks, and this isn't me being strict, this is more me saying, give yourself the best opportunity for knowledge, not in terms of like being strict with what you're tracking. And I know it can be hard, especially if you're in relationships or you've got partners and they don't quite understand. We do a topic on that as well. And especially friends. I know a couple of girls, Chloe, Ellie, Hannah, are getting a bit of grief off one of the girls saying that they're ruining her weekend because they have to track and they can't eat a meal without telling her how many calories are in it. But as much as that's a like little bit of a laugh and a joke, it does teach you for years to come. And when I say like years to come, it's once you know something and that knowledge sits with you, it just makes dieting easier and easier and easier. Like, and I'm at that stage with myself where like I can sort of go for a meal and I could tell you how many calories are in certain meals. Like if we're going for a spaghetti bolognese, I know I won't need to track it because I've tracked it before in the past. Same as if I go for a curry, I know what to do. So it's being smart. And when you're not tracking, what I try to say is minimize the meal sittings. So for example, most of you are probably having breakfast, lunch, dinner and a snack or 2 snacks. If you're not tracking and you're out for dinner or you've got an event on, you'd stick to them 3 meal sittings. So you'd only stick to breakfast, lunch and dinner, and you would minimize snacks. And then it's the same with the portions at the meal. If you're out for dinner and depending on what you're eating, you would try and minimize the amount of courses you'd have. So it'd either be a starter and a main, just a main and a dessert, depending on how smart you've been with your calories and your food choices. And then when you are out for these meals and you are learning, it's about being smart in the day as well, about maybe, again, like I've spoke to a few of you already within your check-ins, about having staples within your diet. So you might have like a similar breakfast and a similar lunch till you're learning. So like, for example, if we're using the example before with Jade, she with 700, she'd maybe pick like a weekend breakfast that might be a little bit different to her weekdays, and similar lunch, which again is a little bit different to her weekdays, till she gets in a good routine of, right, I know that 700 calories, I know how to change things up, and that will always leave me 1,000. And it's, if you're not tracking, you can be like, right, I know that day I'm not tracking today, but I know if I have them 2 things, it leaves me 1,000 calories for the evening. A lot of information on that is, does that make sense? Does anyone need me to go over any of them options, or is everyone good with that? Silence again. So I think we're all good. Obviously, I don't want to just talk at you for half an hour, 45 minutes. So please do chip in. Next thing is obviously the options you pick when you're out for food. So you've got, again, a few choices, but I will give you the bare minimum. Amira, will you put your phone on mute, please? Sorry, Amira's in the other room and it was just echoing back to me. So you've got a few options. You've got, what I would say, if you're out for like pastas, curries, etc., is just making that smart choice of thinking, right, picking a tomato-based option over a coconut-based option. That's probably the smartest thing to do. And in terms of the food we eat out, that's probably the easiest swap to do. And then the next, and that's not bad. That's literally, like I said, we're using an example from before. That's picking spaghetti bolognese over spaghetti carbonara. You're not going to feel restricted. Whereas where most people go wrong when it's eaten out, they'll be like, right, I'm going to pick fish because I know it's healthy. And that's when if you start picking things you don't like when you're out and you start putting restrictions on your weekend, you're going to give up on your journey, because you're going to be like, well, I'm already dieting in the week. Now I'm putting restrictions on my weekend. I don't like this. I'm finished. That's the mindset you go for. Whereas if you start picking options you like and making them fit, you're going to adhere to your dieting phase longer. And we will talk about making calories up and saving calories as well, just in case anyone's thinking on that. But it's like, pick tomato-based options over coconut-based. Avoid anything in cream, cheese, and coated in oils. If you're unsure on things of like food and what's in it, and if you're like, well, you don't quite have the knowledge of what to pick on a menu, think about things that are whole single ingredient food and have less ingredients. So the more ingredients in something, the more likely it is to have calories, if that makes sense, because most ingredients have a certain amount of calories. So if you sort of pick them, go with that sort of method along when you're eating out, then that will probably set you within a decent range. But again, like as I'm talking about all this, I'm giving you the best options. Try not to overthink it and put too much restrictions on your food, and make sure you are enjoying dieting and training. The next thing is obviously, sorry, I'm just looking here. Yeah, we're about to talk about is when you're going out and you don't want to be picking things like fish because you don't even like fish, you just think it's healthy. I've got a method that you can implement, and it's like, if you're giving yourself that free meal at like say 1,000 calories, be smart. Like, a pizza or a burger and chips isn't going to be within that 1,000 calories. We'll talk about things like making pizzas fit in that as well, but it's like, what you'd try and do is you'd be like, right, can you pick something that's in the top 5 meals on the menu? So have a look at it and be like, do you know what? They're probably the top 5. Which one do I like the most? And when I say top 5, I don't always like labeling things as top 5 healthiest. Just think about top 5 calorie controlled meals. So they're a bit on the lower side on the menu. Or if you're still really not sure, look at something and be like, right, that's probably in the highest 5 calories. Highest 5 meals that are highest in calories on the menu. So let's avoid either the top 5 and try and pick something on the lowest 5. There are a few options that you can do in terms of food. Is everyone happy with that? No one's up for talking tonight, are they?
Yeah. I'll talk. Yeah, that's fine.
Good. So there's lots of options there. And then I know a lot of people try and save up calories through the week. If we were on something other than ELIMIN8, I would say this is probably okay, where you can drop your food by an extra 100 to 200 calories. But with being on ELIMIN8, I would probably rather you didn't drop food, because we are already on the higher end of pushing a diet. So I would rather you nailed Monday to Friday. If you think you're going over, say for example, you're out for Pizza Express and you know that day is going to probably put you a couple of hundred over your higher day, most people would tell you that you need to make up by, say, banking calories through the week. You've got to consider you are already in quite the deficit. So if you go and take another 100 to 200 calories a day every day to save up 500 from the weekend, you're probably going to leave yourself really tired, really fatigued, really hungry by the time you come to the weekend. Therefore, you're more likely to overeat at that meal. So on paper and in hindsight, it sounds like a great idea to bank all these calories. But when you're already in quite an aggressive deficit, you're only going to leave yourself more likely to overeat at the meal. So if anyone, does anyone have any questions on that? Or if anyone want to talk about banking calories for the weekend?
If you think you can,
Yeah,
if you
so
think you
I
can
was
do it.
Oh,
Sorry.
Who is about to speak up before Becky? Sorry, Becky, I'll come back to you.
It was me. It's Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
It's always me. I always go over on my fats. Like, I really struggle to, like, I either hit one or the other. So if I'm out and I, like, for example, last weekend I went to Pizza Express.
Yeah.
I always, like, I don't know what options. Like, I want it, like you say, I want to enjoy it, but also, like, it's just picking the right option, I guess. Like, it's fats for me though, mainly, more than anything. So if you're going out, what would you like say?
Yeah, so when it comes to weekends, most meals out at restaurants, and same with when it comes to alcohol, you're more likely to go over your carbs and fats. The reason I put carb and fat ratios in there for your higher day is because it, like, from like a bodybuilding world, a refeed day is meant to mean more energy. So you're meant to put like a higher carb. You're meant to give yourself like an addition of like 40 to 50 grams of carbs. For us, for the most part, for pretty much everyone on this call who is more inclined to use their refeed day as a social event, don't worry about carbs and fat. Just if you can stay within your calories and have a decent level of protein, like 80% of what your protein target is, you're going to be absolutely fine. Try not to stress and overthink it. So refeed for people like me and you, Hannah, is more likely to be from fitting in our socials. Does that make sense? Like, so if
Yeah.
if you fancy like an ice cream on a Sunday instead of Greek yogurt, and the ice cream's higher in fat than the Greek yogurt, then don't worry about it. Do you know what I mean? It's a little bit different. We use our refeeds for socials rather than to be like bodybuilders and give it a resurge of energy.
Perfect. Thank you.
So, Becky, what were you about to say? Sorry.
I was just going to say, if you can reduce your calories and feel okay, is that okay, or is it
again
not necessarily to save up? But I mean, I think there's been like quite a few days where I've come in lower, and I think at the weekends sometimes, because there's loads of stuff going on, actually I'm skipping a meal, which isn't intentional, just like the way life is.
So you mean like you're actually you're not even having your refeed, you're under eating on a Saturday?
Sometimes because of just what's going down.
Yeah, and that is obviously, I would say not to, but like say for example you do undereat on a Saturday, which you were planning as your high day, I would take a refeed at some point, because it's subjective. Some people can diet on really low calories. Like if I take me and my brother, for example, my brother done a bodybuilding competition, a physique show, and he's someone who he found the diet side of things extremely easy. Like he's just someone who doesn't eat a lot of food, and he actually struggles to finish meals. So a lot of his when they would push his food through food, he was absolutely fine with that with the drop. Whereas when I done my photo shoot, dropped me by literally 80 calories. I was basically non-existent. I had memory fog, brain fog. I couldn't talk. I was all over the place just by a minimal drop to my food. So the answer is subjective, but in terms of like hormone production and etc., you are best taking a refeed. And it's also why I don't want people to drop too low in the week and take an extra 100 to 200 off, because what it does in like 2, 3, 4 weeks time, when you are running low and you're more likely to fatigue then, rather than on the day or 2 days later. It's more likely to be later down the line. So the way ELIMIN8's done is to give you that refeed to get you through till the end rather than week by week. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think I'm not sure we lost Becky there. But yeah, just to follow up on that, because Becky can probably watch this back and I'll let her in when she joins, it's just don't try and drop too much in the week to bank your calories. Try your best to stick to targets, which leads me quite nicely onto alcohol. So just a little fact in and around alcohol: you can't actually store alcohol as body fat, as we have no storage mechanism for alcohol like we do with protein, carbs and fats. So that's why they sort of call alcohol as empty calories. But what alcohol does do is like what the body does with alcohol, it tries to dispel it, tries to get rid of the alcohol as it's a toxin. So therefore you're more likely to store food that you've eaten. So over the weekend, if you've had 2,000 calories of alcohol and 2,000 calories of food, your body's going to try and push out the 2,000 calories of alcohol not being used for sort of nutrients around the body and body function. So it's working hard to get rid of all that and storing all the food. That's, in hindsight, why you tend to, if you drink and eat, you tend to put on quite a bit of weight over the weekend, because it's stored all that food. Then alcohol also does, alcohol makes you hungrier. So the alcohol is the only macronutrient that makes you hungrier. So you've got like protein, carbs and fats. They've all got like a level of satiety, and that basically means a level of making you feel less hungry. Alcohol itself makes you feel hungrier. You've probably all been to Turkish at 2 a.m, demolished a pizza, nuggets with cheese, garlic, mayo, because you're starving from overeating with the alcohol. And then it also leads to dehydration again, which makes you feel hungrier. And then it also impairs sleep and rest and recovery. So again, all of these things impact either your sleep or your performance. And once sleep's impaired, that affects two hormones called leptin and ghrelin, again, leading you to feel hungrier. And then same with your performance. If you go into the gym and you're meant to up the weights or up the reps or go in for that session and you feel tired and fatigued, your performance is going to be low. Therefore, your body's going to be like, I need more energy. And it's just going to impact you to end up struggling later on the line in the diet. So yeah, in summary, alcohol has a massive impact on your hunger levels, and it tends not to be on the day or the day after. It tends to be 3-4 days down the line. So by the time you get to like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in the week, that's when you're likely to feel most hungry from alcohol. That being said, it tends to be from drinking heavily, like binge drinking like we do. If you are like, I don't want people, and the way I've designed ELIMIN8 and the way I promote ELIMIN8 is I want people to diet and enjoy their diet. I don't want you to not drink. I don't want to be putting restrictions on your socials, because if you don't drink through ELIMIN8, come first week of December when all the Christmas parties start, end of ELIMIN8, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to go and get smashed, and you've not really learned anything. So my job is to sort of teach you how to make alcohol fit. So again, it comes down to the options of how do you be a bit more sensible when drinking, when on a diet, compared to year round. So let's call it, you've got a holiday coming up and you want to be a little bit smarter and you want to still enjoy your socials without going over the top. So what you do throughout the rest of the year when you're at maintenance is up to you. But when you're on a diet and you want to make things fit, again, if you know what you drink, for example, if you drink Prosecco or you drink vodka, soda, or if you do drink pints, understand how many calories are in one of your drinks. So for example, I'm going to use Corona because I know how many calories in a Corona. I think it's 149, but let's call it 150. So I know that I can use my higher day to fit in my social. I'm out for a few beers most of the year, and those that you know me probably know I probably drink too much of them throughout the year. But come into a diet and come into a quick win and trying to make sure I'm getting myself like in shape for like holidays, weddings, whatever it may be, I try and stick to a certain amount. So I try and stick to maybe like 4 or 5 so I can still enjoy my social, but not put on the unnecessary calories that isn't wanted, which is the similar position most of you should be in right now for ELIMIN8. You just want them to make that progress. So still enjoy your socials, just put yourself on a limit. And by knowing that limit and sticking to one drink, you're most likely going to be aware of it and you can track it. And it might seem a bit OTT in terms of like tracking alcohol, and I do get that, I can understand that, but at the same time, if you're aware, like most people are aware of our vodka diet soda or vodka diet lemonade and lime is a low calorie drink, or gin and tonic, we all know that. But why? Because people that promoted that know it's obviously a low calorie drink because they've checked the calorie content. And it's the same for you when you're tracking your drink. Just understand what you like to drink. So for example, if you don't like gin and tonic, don't drink gin and tonic. It's simple as that, because you will hate dieting, and my job is to make you enjoy that and make it easy for you. So pick the drink you like. If you like 3 or 4 different drinks, that's when you can have a look at it and be like, right, I like vodka cranberry, but I also like vodka Diet Coke. We know vodka, a diet drink's more likely to have less calories than a full sugar drink. So just be like, right, for the next 6 to 8 weeks, when you're getting yourself into the position you want to be in, pick that lower calorie option and stick to a certain amount. And then the next thing is avoiding unnecessary calories. So this is your shots, your additional drinks, etc. If you're drinking just for the sake of drinking and being out, then you're adding unnecessary calories and you're putting yourself further back in terms of your progress. And then, like I touched on before about food at the end of the night, it's how do you, a lot of people say like avoid food at the end of the night, and I do get that, because like you're obviously going to overeat, especially if you're eating the types of foods that are available at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's where you're going to go wrong. If you are someone who is well prepared and you know you're going out and you're pretty free in the day, can you cook something for when you come in? And I don't mean like make yourself a salad. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to get in at 2 in the morning after a few drinks out and be like, right, I really fancy a crunchy leaf salad. You're just not going to. It's like, can you make yourself maybe like a chicken stir fry, prawn stir fry fajitas without obviously the cheese, guacamole, wraps, etc. And put something in the fridge ready for when you get in, heat up, smash that through, and you've got a meal that you can probably control. Like I said to you before on last week's call, a stir fry, you can get 300, 400 calories. If you've got that ready made for when you come in, you're probably saving yourself the best part of 1,000 calories. And it's the same as when you're out. If you're avoiding all the shots, etc., you're probably saving yourself somewhere between 500 to 1,000 calories again. So it's just being smart. And like I said, this isn't forever. It's being smart over these next 5 to 6, 7 weeks, depending on obviously where you're at in your own progress. So it's being sensible, and it is crap. Like, I'll be honest, when I done my photo shoot, I didn't drink for 8 weeks and it was horrible. Like, I really, really didn't enjoy it. But I went to the point of like, I'd had 0 drinks, whereas I've gone in terms of holidays and I've gone to things and I've been a little bit better and I've been like, right, I'm just going to have 3 to 4 drinks here, 3, 4 vodkas. I felt involved. I felt in the social side. I didn't feel awkward, like not having a drink or not having to explain myself that I'm not drinking. And it still baffles me that like you go to somewhere and it's more socially acceptable to pick burger and chips and 10 pints over it is picking salad and vodka diet drinks. It's like, how is it more socially acceptable to do something that is really bad for your health than it is to pick something that's healthy? But that's obviously something for another chat when we talk about the mindset and surrounding yourself with like-minded people and people that get you. So that covers a lot of it in terms of like the alcohol. And the main summary to take away from the alcohol is that it makes you hungrier, it makes you more tired, it makes your performance worse. Therefore, you're more likely to feel fatigued, less energy, wanting more food. So when you are on a dieting phase, be smart with your choices and pick the less calorie options and set yourself a limit. That is the best way to fit alcohol in on a dieting phase, and do it in short spells. Do it for 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time. After the next 4, 5, 6 weeks, I'm just going to limit what I drink, have a big night out. 4, 5, 6 weeks, big night out, and you will feel socially normal. Do you know what I mean? Like, you'll probably feel better for it as well, because you're not going to be hungover the next day trying to smash every takeaway in town. So does anyone have any questions on food, alcohol, weekends, or anything like that?
Logan, I was going to ask, right? So
Yeah.
I went out, well, I had a couple of drinks after work the other day and I actually counted them.
Yeah.
Would you advise, like, obviously it's different though if you're going for like a big night out, what do you do then?
What do you mean, if you've only had a few or you've had a big night out?
Well, the other day, like, I counted the drinks I had because it was just like a few. But if I was going for like a big night out or whatever, what would you advise, just to put aside a certain amount of calories, or what?
Literally that, like you would do with food. So
Food.
yeah,
Okay.
if you're out for a big night out, and like, this is what I'm saying, Jade, if you make yourself aware of how many calories are in your certain, once you've put it in once, you know. So for example, if you put in like a vodka lemonade, let's just call it, and let's just say it came off at 100 calories, and you know, right, if you're going for a big night out, that's 10 vodka lemonades. Do you know what I mean? If you know your own tolerance as well, and it's like, again, my advice is going to be like, avoid shots and avoid the unnecessary drinks. Do you know what I mean? Whilst you're out, and it's the same as like, if you are going to go over your calorie allowance because it is a big night out and there is like food and drink involved, I would say normally we would make adjustments through the week, or what I would try and say is make it up through steps. So like, you try and do a couple of thousand extra steps the day before, on the day after. Do you know what I mean? So for example, if you're on 10,000 steps, try and get 12,000 or the majority of that ticked off on the day before you even go out. And I think a lot of people overthink weekends, because you do, when you are out and about and you are on a big night out, you do tend to like be out and about on your feet all day. It's like when most people go away for a weekend and they're in London or whatever, they usually come back in and around the same weight, even though they ate and drank loads. It's because they're moving a lot. And that's what I would advise. If you know you're going to go over, just move the day before, on the day after. Put yourself in the best position to do that. Does that make sense? But yeah, the majority of it is save yourself So I've just switched over. Oh, Mira. This is that inception, you know, where you're like in the video and the phone at the same time. That's some tech right there. So, yeah, sorry about that. I'm not sure what's happened. Hopefully it doesn't affect the recording as well. I'm going to be straight on to Shaw tomorrow about the internet, and I'll want a discount for the rest of the month. So yeah, apologies for that. So yeah, Jade, what I was saying is like try and eat a certain amount and save a certain amount, but then be smart in and around your choices. So give yourself at least an educated guess. So for example, like if you know your high days, call it 1500, and you know you're going to have 10 drinks at 100 calories each, eat a 500 in a day. And on that day, you'd prioritize your protein and your micronutrients. So you'd pick like either like a egg white omelette with veg in the morning, or yogurt with berries, a smoothie, etc., etc. So you'd get in the. This is a nightmare. I'm really, really sorry about this, guys. It's the internet. If it goes again, then I'll just end the call. But yeah, just basically, Jay, eat a certain amount, save a certain amount, and prioritize your micronutrients when dieting. So I'm worried that this is going to cut out. Does anyone have any questions in and around food and alcohol before I wrap up the call? No. So hopefully that gives you an understanding of being smart at weekends and staying on track. And like I said, do it in periods. So over the next 5-6 weeks, be a lot smarter. Build up your knowledge in these 5-6 weeks, and it will stick for life. Be smart with your options, like picking tomato based over coconut, picking something in the top 5 or something not in the worst 5. Alcohol, put yourself on a limit, stick to one drink, avoid unnecessary calories. If you are known to go for a kebab at the end of the night, can you create something and put something in the fridge for when you get in? Try not to binge drink when on a diet, because it impacts your sleep, your hunger, and your performance, which is going to lead you to finding a diet a lot harder. So that should cover the best part of everything in a summary for what we have covered throughout everything. Tracking is obviously your best option. Semi-tracking is your second best option. And if you are not tracking, stick to 3 meal sittings or stick to the 2 plus alcohol. And then that should be it for food and alcohol for this week. In terms of our selfie winner, sweaty selfie winner, I'm going for Brooklyn, as she was brave enough to put in the sweaty selfie first. And the reason I've done the sweaty selfie competition was to get people used to stepping out their comfort zone, asking questions, remembering we are one team in a closed environment. So don't be shy in asking your questions. Don't be shy in posting things, because if someone can post a sweaty selfie to a closed group of people she doesn't even know, anyone can ask a question. That was the idea behind the sweaty selfie. This week's challenge is going to be who can make the best dessert. So I'm not putting anything. There will be points awarded for obviously protein, low calories, the same as like we did with the fake away. So we're doing a low calorie dessert challenge. That's it. You know what the awards, the points will be for. I'll put this in the group. So it can be made any day up until Sunday evening. And people can start asking questions as well if they're really struggling. Like, what are people having for lunch? What are people having for dinner? What are people having for snacks and desserts? So that's this week's challenge, is a dessert, because I want people to understand that you can eat these things. You can sort of enjoy dieting, which is the main focus of ELIMIN8. So I'll give it one last call out for any questions. Does anyone have any questions? No. So we're all good. All check-ins have been done. Do note the increase in steps and the slight decrease in food. If you are finding it hard, post in the group. Let me know in your check-ins. But everyone is smashing it. I'm really happy with this group that we've got. It's already better than the last group. Siobhan, I'm sorry you are part of both groups, so you get the award. But the way everyone's taken to the challenge already, I'm really, really happy with it. So I'm looking forward to seeing progress over the next 5-6 weeks. Other than that, I will speak to you during the week, and I will see you all next week. Have a lovely evening, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.